I wanted to flatten everything. I wanted to see this side. I don't know why, but I just wanted to do it so very badly. And now I finally know why. It's because I'm an idiot, a garden variety idiot who got his hands on power. Eren says these words during the final moments of the story, revealing his true intentions about the mass genocide he committed. If you stick to the anime and manga, you might think that these were just the thoughts of the main character of the show. But if you read this certain part of the interview which Hajime Isayama gave to the New York Times 2 weeks before the release of the last episode, you will realize that it was actually Isayama himself sharing his thoughts to his audience through the character of Eren Yeager in those last moments. That was pretty much there from the beginning, something I had in mind right from the get-go. Eren actually overlaps in a certain sense with my own story with this manga. It led to me being given a huge power that I didn't quite feel comfortable with. I could have changed it and said I wanted to go in a different direction, but the fact is that I was tied down to what I had originally envisioned when I was young, and so manga became a very restrictive art form for me. Similar to how the massive powers that Eren acquired ended up restricting him. These quotes from the interview prove that Hajime Isayama already had the ending ready before even penning down the first chapter of Attack on Titan. These facts about Isayama shows us how genius of a story writer he is. A writer with incredible far-sighted imagination who produced innumerable bone-chilling twists and turns to the story, making Attack on Titan one of the biggest phenomena in the world of anime. But do you know that this genius storyteller was once mocked and criticized heavily by the editors for having immature and childish art style, was rejected multiple times for his story ideas, faced poverty, worked multiple part-time jobs just to survive in a metropolitan city like Tokyo, and struggled all his life with low self-esteem and crippling insecurity to the point of identifying himself as an eccentric person. So how did such a misfit person in the manga industry become one of the most influential creators in the modern anime world? How did he make his way from the lowest possible ground to the highest peak of fame in such a cruel and competitive career? And most importantly, how did he create such a record-shattering story which would break many stereotypes and arguably become one of the modern masterpieces of the anime industry? This is the incredible life story of Hajime Isayama. Hajime Isayama was born on August 29, 1986 in a small town of Japan named Oyama, situated in the Oita prefecture. His father worked in the Department of Design and Sales at a furniture manufacturing company, and his mother used to do oil painting as a hobby. The crafting talent of his mother and father had a strong influence on Isayama as a kid, making him interested in the field of art from the very beginning of his life. As a kid, he used to doodle a lot, especially doodling the artwork of dinosaurs. For the first time ever in his life, he got praised for his dinosaur artwork by one of his day caretaker, which made him feel that his artworks are indeed quite good. Hence, being a small kid, he steadily developed a kind of passion towards drawing art and expressing his thoughts in the form of various artworks. In elementary school, Isayama used to be a funny and interactive kid, cracking jokes regularly within his friend circle as well as even with his teachers. But as he started with his middle school journey, he suddenly became extremely introvert and stopped trying to become interesting as he disliked standing out among his friends. He also developed a sense of insecurity as he was 20 pounds lighter than an average middle school kid, and mentally he started developing a sense of low self-esteem and inferiority complex when he compared himself with the other kids. He even said that this part of his childhood was something he wanted to forget about and would also not want to talk about it even in his interviews. But middle school was also the period when Isayama realized that he wanted to be a manga artist at some point in his life, and this was not just his dream alone. There were even a couple of his school friends who wanted to pursue this adventurous path. It was also this period when Isayama read the famous manga from his generation titled Project Arms. This manga was written by Kiyoshi Nanatsuki and was illustrated by Ryoji Mingawa. This was one of a big hit cyberpunk genre manga series where the protagonist gets nanomachine implants in his body after a severe accident. It was this manga series which made Isayama realize how interesting, fascinating and wonderful manga could actually be, and it was after reading Project Arms when Isayama decided to start his own manga journey. Isayama himself said that if he wouldn't have read Arms, he wouldn't have become a mangaka today. Isayama was now completely motivated and committed to become a manga artist. Like his other friends, he never dropped his dreams and truly wanted to take the unconventional path contrary to the scripted office life of an average Japanese person. He was now in high school and it would take him more than an hour every day to reach his high school from his home. So he joined the art club at the school itself to save time time and practice drawings and illustrations. Isayama was so committed to become a mangaka that despite no one joining the club, he would sit there and practice his drawings all alone by himself every single day. But there was still a catch in his pursuit of success. We all know that Isayama is not one of the greatest manga artists. Almost all of his fans will rate his art in the current day in the category of either average or just good enough. Also, this level of artwork today Isayama has achieved after relentlessly drawing Attack on Titan for almost all his adult life. But this was not the case back in his school and college days. The fact was that Isayama during his high school days was a terrible artist. His art was childish and immature, and I am not saying this, his father said this. During his high school days, Isayama's father came across some of his artwork as he knew his son was passionate for art. But the drawings he saw were so bad that it didn't just demotivate him but also made him agitated and worried for his son's future and his career. He even boldly said to Isayama on his face that you can't become a mangaka. Your drawings are so bad that people can't even read it.
お前は漫画家になれねえ。お前は漫画家になれんっつって。本人の。まず思ったのが、絵が下手。
To be completely honest, his father was not wrong in his part. Just take a look at Isayama's artwork in Shingeki no Kyojin one shot which he created way back in 2006. These artworks look childish, uninteresting and similar to immature doodles, something which will turn off the interest of the reader instantly just by looking at the art, which in turn would also turn off the interest of the reader for the story. Despite of the heartbreaking remarks from his father, Isayama was persistent on becoming a manga artist. In second year of high school, Isayama started to submit his artwork in various magazine editorial departments, which is obviously the first step of a mangaka when they choose this path as a professional career. He started to create a limited story one-shot manga where the hero gets transformed into a cyborg. He submitted this 35 pages long one-shot to various manga magazines and was confident that his work would definitely be published in one of those manga magazines for sure. But this was the first time he was hit by the reality of the cutthroat culture of the manga world. Isayama and his first complete manga were not even considered by any magazine company for publication. This was the first time Isayama professionally got the painful remarks by the editors on his immature style of art and was suggested to practice and improve his artwork for some positive results in this industry. You would think that by this time a person like Isayama, who dealt with crippling insecurity and lack of confidence, would just give up, get demotivated and cover himself up in melancholy by realizing the truth of the real world. But surprisingly, this was not the case at all in the life of this genius creator. Over the time, Isayama had developed this identity where he believed that he is way more superior in the field of art and storytelling as compared to the others. He simply identified himself better than the other creators out there in the market. This type of mindset generally is categorized as catastrophic for a person, but in this rare case, it proved to be a blessing for Isayama. He adopted his mindset that this childish and ugly art is his unique style for which he will stand out against the other artists. He definitely worked hard on improving the detailing on his art, but he never ever changed the style of his artwork, and it was this relentless and unshakable mindset that made Isayama a sturdy dreamer who would not bow down to tough situations despite facing the reality of how big the industry actually was and how low his chances were to even make a living out of his beloved passion. After graduating from high school, Isayama joined Kyushu Institute of Design or Kyushu Designer Gauken, situated in the city of Fukuoka. He enrolled himself into the manga program of the institute to refine his art skills, but he kept his dream of study a secret from his parents because of their discomfort and undermining support for their son's dream, and told them that he is pursuing industrial design from the institute as he wants to become a designer for industrial products just like his father. After commencing his studies in the institute, Isayama noticed the large number of artists from across the country who wanted to become a manga artist and who were much more serious and talented than him for the profession. But this was also the environment which Isayama craved for a long time, as now he could fully focus on becoming a mangaka with the other students in the institute. With his new artist friends, Isayama would also go to Tokyo occasionally to pitch their works. In exchange, they would be recognized by the significant editors and would also get remarks and suggestions for their works and learn unique ways to stand out from the rest of the pursuers. Isayama was always fascinated by the stories where humanity was threatened and cornered by powerful beasts and monsters. Godzilla and Jurassic Park were some of his early inspirations. It was at this time in the Kyushu Institute when Isayama played the game named Merv Love Alternative, in which the whole universe comes under alien attack and are pushed to the brink of extinction, and hence there is a big war between the humans and the aliens. This game and its story were one of the biggest inspiration for Isayama when he started to create the one-shot one-shot Attack on Titan story. At the age of 19, Isayama submitted his first ever 65 pages long Attack on Titan one-shot to the magazine Grand Prix manga competition held by Kodansha, and surprisingly won an honorable mention award for it. But he was criticized heavily for his artwork and was even mocked for winning the prize with the worst art ever. Despite the criticism, this moment was a huge motivation for Isayama and his career, as his work was finally being accepted at the professional stages, which gave him the much awaited credibility as an artist. He was also appreciated by one of the new and young editors from the Kodansha magazine named Shintaro Kawakubo, stating that he was happy that despite not being a better artist, Isayama had put his soul in this work. This editor would later play a very crucial part in the life of Hajime Isayama, and hence we will talk about him in the later parts of Isayama's life. So it was this moment when Isayama finally decides to move to Tokyo and become the mangaka he always wanted to be. But soon he would realize the truth about the epicenter of Japanese pop culture. All that glitters is not gold. The first 2 years for Isayama in Tokyo were like a roller coaster ride. Tokyo, we all know, is a very expensive city, and Isayama had no money and no job to afford a living in such a large and competitive metropolis. But abandoning his dreams was strictly off the charts for him, so he started to work multiple jobs so that he could afford a living and create art in the remaining free time. Working at an internet cafe in Ikebukuro was one of the part-time jobs he did in his initial days in Tokyo. It was also in this cafe where Isayama would create his first ever Attack on Titan serialization character Mikasa after taking inspiration from a girl with red muffler who would always visit the internet cafe. This lifestyle became really hectic for someone like Isayama, as he was just 19 years old and he freshly entered in the world of the adults, where one must abandon all their innocence and earn their livelihood through hard work without being dependent on their parents. But Isayama would dedicate all his heart to his creative work without any questions. He would regularly submit his works to various shonen manga competitions for feedbacks and improvements in his work, and also try to reach to a point where his work life would get replaced by his passion. It was at this point when Isayama submitted his 2 other award-winning one-shot works, namely Ours and Heartbreak 1. He won the Special Encouragement Award and the Shonen Magazine Newcomer Manga Award for both these titles. Ours was also published in a commercial manga magazine, which became his first ever work to get published anywhere. Remember, I mentioned earlier that there was an editor by the name of Kawakubo from Kodansha magazine who would play a big role in Isayama's life. His time to change the destiny of Isayama forever had come. Kawakubo was one of the rare editors who recognized the genius of Isayama long ago when he submitted his first ever one-shot AOT manga, and now Kawakubo was ready to play a bet on his work. But first, Isayama needed some improvements in his artwork. So Kawakubo asked Isayama to redraw and practice the artwork from Hajime no Ippo, as it had amazing action and fight scenes which suited the rough styled artwork of Isayama. He also asked Isayama to redraw the pages from shoujo manga so that he could come up with cute female characters for his upcoming work. After practicing and refining his art for a couple of months, Kawakubo asked Isayama to serialize his first work, Shingeki no Kyojin, and asked him to come up with a long story for the serialization that could possibly run in Shueisha's famous Shonen Jump magazine for a couple of years. As now being a multiple manga competition awards winner, Isayama was now eligible for his drafts to at least get noticed and read by the editors at the office of Shueisha. Isayama was surprised by this idea of Kawakubo, as he himself had forgotten about the one-shot Attack on Titan he created way back in his college days when he was 19 years old. But seeing his dreams come true of finally becoming a professional manga artist and earning his living through creating arts and stories, Isayama without hesitation and with absolute seriousness dedicated the next 6 months of his life in creating the long-running story of the AOT manga series that would soon create multiple records in the history of manga and the anime industry. After getting the story approved by his new close friend and editor Kawakubo, Isayama was confident that his work will be accepted for the Shonen Jump magazine. After completing the first draft of Shingeki no Kyojin, Isayama went to Shueisha's office in the hopes of getting the serialization accepted and finally get his name engraved among some of the greatest manga artists that the world has ever witnessed. After all, it was the legendary Shonen Jump magazine, the organization which was behind some of the greatest stories and characters that the people had loved all around the world for decades. The editors at the Shueisha's office went through the drafts of the young rookie award winner Isayama. They loved the idea and the story structure from the draft, but the dark and gritty theme and the immature art bugged them for accepting it in the publication. Once again, Isayama's artwork became the biggest roadblock between him and his dreams. The editors at the Shonen Jump came to a conclusion that Isayama won't be able to improve his artwork and justify the story in their fast-paced publication style where the mangaka had to submit his complete work on a weekly basis. This kind of pacing might further degrade his artwork for the magazine, and after a lot of discussion, they rejected Isayama for a serialization in their magazine. This decision by the editors was a hard blow for Isayama, as yet again he was criticized and rejected for his art style despite refining it day and night for the past couple of months. With a heavy heart, Isayama returned to his apartment with shattered dreams and battered self-confidence, doubting himself that will he ever be able to become a mangaka with his art style, which was always criticized and demotivated whenever compared to the art style of the other artists. But little did he know that this was not the end of his career, but instead a major kickstart. Since fortune favors the bold, Isayama's fate was already decided in the form of his good relationship with Kawakubo and Kodansha. Kodansha was about to launch a new magazine by the name of Besatsu Shonen Magazine, which would be a monthly magazine, and the team of Kodansha asked Isayama that he should serialize his manga in this magazine. This not just gave Isayama an opportunity to finally serialize his manga, but a publication time of 1 month between each chapters, which was 4 times more than that of Shonen Jump magazine. This was like a perfect condition for an artist like Isayama. He would get ample of time to work on a great script as well as improve his art while keeping his art style alive. Who knows, if Isayama would have been selected for Shonen Jump magazine, the rigorous timeline of just 1 week might have just made him rush the story of AOT as well as may not give him time to improve upon his artwork. Kodansha also gave Isayama the complete freedom on his work without any compromises regarding the gritty and dark theme of AOT, which was one of the core attributes of the series. Therefore, finally, after 4 long years of struggle, Isayama's first ever big-scale project got kick-started in the year 2009. Attack on Titan started to get published on a regular basis in the Besatsu Shonen magazine, but now Isayama's previous struggles were replaced by not just new problems but also immense pressure. The pressure of constantly delivering amazing storyline with every new published chapter. Before serialization, Isayama used to live in a tiny $600 per month apartment, working multiple jobs for a roof over his head. But now, due to the constant serialization of his work, his editors asked him to move into a bigger apartment and even hire assistants for delivering quality work without any delay. This sudden spike in the rent and paychecks to the assistants created a lot of stress for Isayama, as beginner manga artists are paid a very average salary by the magazine companies before their series become a big hit. He started to live in a constant fear that if the series flops and get cancelled, he would again have to go back to his old struggling days, working multiple jobs throughout the day to survive in an expensive city like Tokyo, and maybe even abandon his dreams and return back to his hometown. But Isayama underestimated his skills and creativity. He himself did not know how genius of a storyteller he actually was. Attack on Titan started becoming the talk of the town. Its gripping storyline, flawed characters, nail-biting suspense, unique action sequences, and a fresh genre started attracting the manga readers swiftly and steadily. Its popularity started to grow among the manga community on recommendation basis. Vast number of readers were now curious to check out that hot and trending story from the manga market, which was defying the mainstream genres of the industry. The manga series became a hit, and soon Shingeki no Kyojin became so popular that the publishers, the producers, and the financiers decided to roll out the anime of the ongoing series. Wit Studio got the contract for the anime production, and on the 7th of April 2013, 4 years after the release of the first chapter of the manga, the first episode of the anime by the name of Attack on Titan was aired on television. The anime quickly became an international sensation. After the success of the anime, Attack on Titan literally became the titan of the anime industry. Its success and popularity dwarfed other ongoing anime series in no time, and this mammoth success was absolutely deserving for the show, as it constantly rolled out masterpiece episodes one after the other, and so did its creator Hajime Isayama with his latest chapters. Isayama had come a long way from where he had started. His artwork got better and better with each chapter, just like the storyline of his series. Just look at the comparison between his artworks from early and the later chapters. The improvement in his art is one of the most evident parts of his manga. He became one of the rare mangaka whose work would keep pushing the boundaries of creativity and keep becoming better with each publication. Whenever the AOT fans would think that the manga or the anime can't become better than the current one, Isayama would literally explode their minds by rolling out yet another banger the next month. Today, Attack on Titan is considered a modern masterpiece, having some of the highest rated episodes on all of IMDb TV, surpassing the popularity of almost all other anime shows from the past and the present, and even getting compared to the greatest TV shows like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad. People have literally made careers out of reacting to the anime episodes of AOT on YouTube. But there was one last arc left in the legend of Hajime Isayama, and that was the end of the journey of Attack on Titan. Isayama never imagined that his manga would soar to such heights of popularity and fan base around the world, and seeing the vast number of die-hard fans waiting eagerly for the climax of the great show, the pressure built upon him to deliver the ending was immense. On many occasions, he thought of delivering and catering to the demands raised by the fans of the show, take the safe path and make the audience happy and give them the ending they wanted. But this constraint of not being able to fully embrace his creativity during the end of the story bugged him so bad that despite the immense hopes of the fans about the ending of the series, Isayama chose his freedom to express his art the way he always intended to, the way through which he created the amazing story in the last 11 years. Therefore, setting aside all the backlash and the pressure from around the world, Isayama kept the original ending of the manga as he decided 11 years ago, way back when he started his long and surreal journey. Yes, it was true that many fans questioned and tagged the ending of the manga as controversial. Many fans even went overboard and abused him for spoiling the climax for them and even termed him as the villainous creator of the show. But Isayama stood to what he always propagated through the themes of his masterpiece, which is freedom. He stayed true to his message and chose his creative freedom over the immense pressure of fan servicing, and I personally hope that he is proud of this decision. Hajime Isayama's journey was like a script out of a movie, fun, surreal and inspiring. His story took us to a journey of a young boy dealing with crippling insecurity, criticism and poverty to become one of the biggest names in the history of manga industry. From someone who was once criticized constantly for his passion and even doubted by his own father to becoming someone who is now adored and respected by millions is a rare piece of life story that teaches us the value and importance of self-belief and persistence that can be applied in our own lives. While researching for this video, Isayama's story was quite a motivational ride for me as well. As being myself a beginner creator, it is genuinely not easy to create videos on YouTube and carry on with jobs and hassles of daily life. His early life hustles and hard work definitely resonated with me and gave me a big smile. And even more than that, he left a legacy behind him which will continue to motivate innumerable artists and creators who take this long and desolate path in search of hope with persistence as their companion and greatness as their end goal.